Call this meeting to order, and this meeting is being held pursuant to Executive Order 65, issued by the Governor of the State of Tennessee. It is being held electronically due to the need to protect health, safety, and well-being of the citizens, and without objection, will proceed in that manner. As such, all members of the committee must be able to hear the chairman and each other. If you cannot hear other members, please notify the chairman immediately. All votes will be done by roll call, and when you speak to a matter, please identify yourself. This meeting is available to the public on Public Access TV and is streaming live on YouTube. I will now call the roll. Betsy Hester. Brian Beathard.
Beathard here.
Chad Story.
Story's here.
Keith Hudson.
Hudson's here.
Matt Williams. Robbie Beal.
Bill is here.
And I am here. Ashton, if you can just let us show that Matt and Betsy were not here, that would be great. So there's Matt.
Hey, guys.
All right. So Matt is not here. We're just missing Betsy. I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
Story motion to approve. William second.
Beathard second.
Any discussion on those minutes? Hearing none, we will accept those minutes. Do we have to vote on that, Bobby?
Yes, you still need to vote on it. You can do
Okay.
it by voice vote unless you have a no, and then you're going to have to do roll call.
I think we're fine with voice. If everyone could just signify yay by saying yay or no by saying nay.
Yay.
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 Okay.
All right, we're all good there. We will start now with, I guess, Leslie, do you mind giving an update to the rest of the committee about Jason's father real quick before we get started on resolutions?
Yes. Jason's father passed away on Friday. I'm not sure if it was the morning or afternoon, after a short illness. And so Jason's right now in a meeting and was unable to attend and asked me to do that for him.
As Brian said earlier, please pass on our condolences and let him know that he's my prayers and the others, I'm sure.
I definitely will.
Thank you. I do not have resolution numbers. Ashton, are there resolution numbers on these resolutions?
No, sir, they haven't been filed yet.
Okay. So we will start with resolution resolution requesting intercategory transfer to place funds in correct category. Leslie, do you want to speak to that real quick?
Okay, at the bottom of it.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right.
Story motion to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Beathard second.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Chad. Go ahead, Leslie. I'm sorry.
At the bottom of it, does it say 121 intercategory CHS? CSH? So I make sure, right. Right, at the
$20,000.
very bottom of it, like the file name down at the very bottom.
I don't have anything at the bottom.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's $2,000 expenditure decrease to in-service training.
Okay, yes, that's the one. I just wanted to make sure I had the right one.
Yes, ma'am.
What happened, I'm trying to place the money into the state major category that they want it reported in. Due to the way we did the budget this year, it put it back in the old category. We didn't realize it till after the year got started. So I need to get the money back into the correct category for state reporting purposes. It's not asking for additional money or anything like that. It's just moving it to the right major category. And any major category transfers have to be approved by the county commission.
Thank you. Solomon, any questions for Leslie? Hearing none, I'll recognize Ms. Betsy. Hello, Betsy. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All those in favor of this resolution, please signify by, we have to do a roll call vote. So sorry. Apologize up front for that. We'll start on that vote. Mr. Beathard,
Beathard, yes.
Mr. Story,
Story, yes.
Mr. Hudson,
Hudson, yes.
Mr. Williams,
Williams, yes.
Mr. Beal,
Bill, yes.
Ms. Hester,
Hester, yes.
and I'm a yes. That passes unanimously. We will move on to our next resolution, which is not numbered as well. It is a resolution transferring up to $2 million general purpose school funds to the Central Cafeteria Fund for the purpose of providing money for a sufficient cash balance in the Central Cafeteria Fund. Do I have a motion?
Story motion to approve.
Beathard, second.
Thank you, gentlemen. Leslie, would you like to speak to this?
Yes. Last year, with COVID, when it started, we continued to pay our cafeteria employees, and this sort of depleted their resources. At the end of last year, we transferred some money from the general purpose school fund to help with that. As this year started to move along, there is a need to establish a better cash balance in there. So we're transferring $2 million to up to $2 million. I think I'm going to wait until January or February to see where they are. And then we'll transfer some money to help them with cash flow purposes. And then the expectation on this transfer, not like the last transfer, is that we want them to pay the general purpose school fund back. So this resolution, we talked with the state about it. It is not something they have to pay back by June 30th. They can take their time paying it back, but this is just to help them with cash flow purposes for the year.
Thank you, Leslie. I'd like to acknowledge Jason Golden, who has shown up there. Thank you for joining us, Jason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I apologize for being late.
No worries. Would you anything you'd like to add to this, or you're good with Ms. Leslie there?
I think Leslie described it well. It's about cash flow. I will tell you that one of the things that the USDA has done this year is commit to every single lunch, every single traditional school lunch that gets taken is actually being reimbursed by the USDA, as opposed to our families paying for them. That's part of their COVID relief. That has triggered a cash flow issue for us because we're used to our payments coming in immediately with the parent paying, and now we're waiting for the USDA to give those funds on a regular basis. So that's part of what triggered this with budgeting.
Thank you, sir. I won't make a comment for our federal government. Any comments on this from the committee?
Chair, this is Commissioner Bill. I've got a question. I think Mr. Golden answered it for me. I'm not quite sure how if we're still paying our employees like we were pre-COVID, shouldn't it have already been budgeted? I'm not quite sure why there was a shortfall. And I guess, Jason, maybe you just tried to answer that the USDA funds hadn't caught up to us. Is that true?
Yeah, yes, sir. That's right. And that's the bulk of it. But I will say one of the things we're going to evaluate through the end of the year is I do believe that ultimately we're going to net less revenue because of changed habits, because we do have some students online, et cetera. And so that's why Leslie mentioned that it doesn't necessarily have to be paid back by June 30th, because that is a possibility as well. But ultimately, this is going to be paid by the food service, whether through the USDA payments catching up in a different way or otherwise. What I have heard, generally speaking, across the state, this has not been as big an issue in the rural areas as it has been in the suburban areas because of numbers of free and reduced lunch and habits that the school systems have with their budgeting with USDA funds.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Chair, Commissioner Story has a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Thanks. Superintendent Golden, so if we continue a trend of remote, is that going to be an added detriment, or is that buffer already kind of built into your projections in terms of, does it hurt us does it hurt the cash flow problem worse the more we are remote, or does it matter?
Yes.
Generally speaking, yes. We do have some mitigation. We do have the capacity through the USDA program to deliver food and to have folks pick food up, actually even on a weekly basis. But those numbers, generally speaking, are a lot less than what might ordinarily be on campus.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Comments? Seeing none, I'll call roll for a vote. Betsy Hester,
Hester, yes.
Brian Beathard,
Beathard, yes.
Chad Story,
Story, yes.
Keith Hudson,
Hudson, yes.
Matt Williams,
Williams, yes.
Robbie Beal,
Bill, yes.
and Tunnicliff, yes. Passes unanimously. I assume everyone got a copy of the 5-year plan? Are we, Jason, that's something you wanted us to have and discuss tonight?
Yes, sir. So to give you all some history, and I'm speaking for the county in part here, one of the things that the county does is have various departments and the school system send 5-year plans. That in part helps with bond ratings when information is presented to the entities that evaluate your bonds. So every year we present you a 5-year capital plan. One of the things that I know that the mayor makes sure he emphasizes, and Commissioner Little or whoever is chair emphasizes, you are not approving these particular items. You are instead acknowledging that this is our planning document and that we may come to you in the future based on this document. We do it manually. Things change a lot. I will tell you some of our dates pushed out a little bit this year as a result of COVID. And I will tell you also, one other variable I pointed out to our board is I am less comfortable this year with a 5-year capital plan than I have been in the 15 or so years I've done this in the past. In part because of COVID, but in part because the county just passed a new land use plan. And I anticipate it's probably going to be maybe about 2 years before we start getting a feel for what that means for us. So that first year, as far as where schools go, et cetera. That first year that we have in that 5-year plan, we do anticipate almost for sure we'll be asking for funding for those items at some point down the road. As we get into year 3, 4, and 5, that obviously gets a little bit more speculative.
Commissioners, any questions? I have never known there not to be a question on a 5-year plan. That's all.
Me either.
Jason knows my question, but I'll wait and talk to him later about it. Do we need to, Bobby, do we need to vote on this?
Mhm.
Yes, go ahead and vote as just accepting. You're not approving any project again, as Jason said, but just
Okay.
approve on a motion to accept.
All right, so there you all have it. We're going to approve, accept. Betsy Hester.
Well, I think we need to move to accept and second.
And a second.
I don't remember doing that last year. I apologize. I'll let Brian, you want to throw that out there, or someone want to throw out that motion?
Beathard, move to accept.
Story, second.
Thank you, gentlemen. We'll go to vote. Betsy Hester.
Hester, yes.
Thank you. Brian Beathard.
Beathard, yes.
Chad Story.
Story, yes.
Keith Hudson.
Hudson, yes.
Matt Williams.
Williams, yes.
Robbie Beal.
Bill, yes.
Tom Tunnicliff, yes. That ends our resolutions. Are there any other comments or concerns, new business, anything of that wonderful nature?
Hey, Jason, this is Commissioner Williams. I know we've already accepted the capital improvement plan, which I'm fine with. I just like to have a little conversation around the high school west northwest?
Sure. We project kind of at the tail end of this 5-year capital plan that there will be a need for another high school. To give you guys a little bit of background, stepping backwards, a few years ago we had our next high school after Nolensville projected to be in the Carruthers corridor. But rather than do that, we launched a process of expanding our campuses because it's significantly less expensive. What our projections tell us right now is that even with that, the most likely location of the next high school is probably going to be in that northwest area. But again, I think the land use plan and where neighborhoods start coming in over these next couple of years is going to impact us. Franklin High School did get expanded a couple of years ago with your funding that redo of the old Claude Yates vocational building that was purchased from the state. But Franklin High is again slowly approaching its capacity. So that's our projection. Brentwood has been expanded. We're going to have to redo the Brentwood Middle School soon. Our plan is for that campus to be a total of 3,500 students, approximately 1,500 at the middle school, 3,000 at the high. We anticipate there might be a time where a portion, the west, very extreme west portion of Brentwood, might not be able to fit on that campus if that area grows. So that's why that's still something that we're contemplating to let you guys know that may very well happen in the next few years. I'm probably giving you too much information, but one other piece. Some of the commissioners over the years, knowing that that's a possibility, have actually had conversations with landowners out there and given us some contacts to follow up on. We continue to look at that. We have a little bit of money that you guys have granted us for some land purchases. If we can find something appropriate, we're still open to that for land purchase. For those of you deeply familiar with that area, you know there's not a lot of places you can put a high school. But that's where we're at and why it's kind of on the tail end of our 5-year campaign.
So I know it looks like in 22, 23, there's $3 million that you're projecting out for that. I imagine that's for preliminary plans and that type of deal, right?
Yes, sir.
Then 32 million followed on by 27 million. That's to actually build the buildings.
That's correct.
Right. So then if I look at real estate acquisitions, it's one of those 18 million in next year kind of designated for picking land out for that.
That's right.
Understood. Okay, that's all I had. Thanks.
Chair, can I follow up with that?
Please, Chad.
Jason, quick question. Are we using the building authority as a part of the process, or are you guys handling that strictly under your umbrella?
We work some with the building authority. Mark Samuels can speak to some details. Ultimately, these are based on our projections and conversations we have with Joe Horn's office about viability. We actually do all the land vetting ourselves as well. Mark, I don't know if there's any additional information you can have about the building authority.
No, sir, we haven't had significant engagement with the building authority. We've done pretty good on our own, although Kevin Fortney has had great relationship with county planning side and engineering side. So that's worked well for us in the past.
Thank you all.
I have one more follow-up question. Elementary school north, what's that planned for? Is that to alleviate like a scales, or what's that designed for?
We anticipate it's going to be a little bit more northeast, based on what we're seeing with the younger grades. I will tell you right now, Jordan Elementary is at about half capacity. But the Nolensville area schools are all pretty close to being full. So that's generally what we're looking at. We expanded scales and rehabbed it with some funding from you all. And actually, we're in our second year of that project being completed. Again, we designed the capacities, especially in the Brentwood area, to be clean feeders because it'd been a clean feeder for a good long time, and it's one of the few areas in the county where the growth has been fairly slow and predictable. So if there is any relief there, it's going to be it would be further west, ultimately feeding that new high school. But that's not what we're talking about with North.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Anyone else? All right, Jason, I know that the committee here has commented earlier to Ms. Holman, but we'd all like to pass on our condolences about your father, and know that you are definitely in our thoughts and prayers. And it's a tough time of year for that to happen.
Thank you all. I appreciate it. It's part of life, and I very much appreciate your sympathy.
Definitely there for you.
I'm gonna smile when I think about him.
That's a good idea. I've done the same with my father. I will. I think we're finished with business here. I will take a motion to adjourn.
Story motion to adjourn.
William, second.
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you, folks.